Hello there, my name is Femi Akonde, and you're watching The Big... More than 50 years after breaking free from the shackles of British colonialism, a new trend has seen the growing use of English as a language of instruction among parents. Like they say, orange is a new black, but in this context, English is the new mother tongue. And linguists fear for the extinction of our indigenous languages, and they even believe parents should rather raise children in their mother tongue. What is your take on this? Should we rather raise kids using our indigenous languages to communicate with them, and leave the job of instructing them in English to schools? Well, the question now is raising children in English more beneficial? The debate is about to get started, and you're tuned into the hottest debate show on TV. This is The Big Issue.
We should train our children in indigenous language. You have to make sure that the children understand what you are training them in their own indigenous language before they can interpret.
English is more better than any other thing because it's a common something. Anywhere you travel, go.
For me, I think it's better to use them in English because I would like to give them a global view, to have them to have the global perspective so that they can be globally accepted.
We take these children to school to learn English, but we have to give them the native, upbringing, like the tribal way of training up a child, our culture. We need to imbibe our language into our children.
I prefer both ways. The purpose being, when they go out of this country, they will be able to mix up freely. At the same time, I prefer the local dialect, you understand? So that they will be able to understand the culture and the orientation of this country.
If you raise a child up in the dialect and you're not careful to pin it at a particular age and change, that means you have to be conscious yourself that after a certain age you change to English so that it doesn't affect the child's thinking. A lot of people are afraid to speak in English because they were not brought up to, it's not the language they're used to speak. But if you're used to it from day one, it's easier. You think in English, you write in English, because you're going to do everything in life in English until such a time when we change to Yoruba or whatever dialect.
Welcome back. Well, the debate today is raising children in English language. Is it more beneficial? And of course, we have two people that would do justice to this debate. We have Feyikemi Niyi Olayinka. Let's welcome Feyikemi Niyi Olayinka. Please come up stage, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am. This side of the podium. Feyikemi Niyi Olayinka is a presenter with Lagos State Television. She's also a language enthusiast who believes children should be raised in their indigenous languages. A round of applause for her again. On the flip side, we have Franca Eze. Let's welcome Franca Eze. Welcome, ma. Over there. Well, Franca is an educationist. She believes it is more beneficial to raise children in English language, which is our official language, our lingua franca. A round of applause for Franca. Well, Franca, let's tee off this way. Why would you say using our lingua franca in child upbringing is better than letting them learn in our indigenous languages?
Yeah, before I start, I have to say good day to my audience, my co-debater, viewers at home, and to you, my presenter. I am Franca Eze, and I work with Lagos State Government, and I'm a linguist. I believe, because before anything, you have to know the meaning of language.
Yeah.
Language is a method of human communication, either spoken or written. And making use of words in a structured and conventional way. Without language, there will be no communication.
True.
Now we have been colonized. And after so many things happened during the colonial era, and now we have been, and English is now our lingua franca. The reason why English is our lingua franca is because Nigeria is a multilingual nation. Multilingual nation means it is not a monolingual nation. It is not a country with one language. Now, even in our country, Nigeria, we have over 520 languages. That is the importance of making use of English. Now, if we are raising children in our homes as parents, and you try to use this mother tongue, these children will grow up and they will not be able to compete in the outside world. One. And I believe that there was a theory, and the concept of that theory from Noam Chomsky is LAD. And what is LAD? Language Acquisition Device. And this language expert made us to know that this LAD, every child is born with it. That means at infant, a child who is exposed to up to 7 to 10 languages can speak them, write them perfectly. And that is from God, the Creator, who gave us that in our memory. Why should I now limit my children to only my mother tongue if they have the ability of learning my mother tongue and then speaking the language English?
All right, then. All right, Feyikemi, we want to bring up children that can compete favorably with other kids from anywhere or any part of the world. And you had her bringing them up by communicating with them in our mother tongue, in our indigenous languages, might in a way affect or make them have a kind of, let me call it complex, that they won't be able to maybe relate well with other kids.
I don't really believe so. Well, I just want to say hello to our viewers at home, my co-debater, the anchor of the show, and everyone that is in the studio. There's this saying, I want to start with this proverb that says, a river that forgets its source must surely run dry. I want to say that I, Oluwafeyikemi, I believe so much in our mother tongue. I believe raising up our children in our mother tongue will make them to compete anywhere in the world. Speak their language, their mother tongue to them at home. Leave English to the teachers in school. Why are we paying so much in schools today? Is it not because we want them to compete with people, with pupils from all over the world? When you speak your language to your child, number one, English as a language, it has no respect. If I want to call my dad or my mom, I'll say you. If I want to call my mate, I say you. If I want to call someone who is younger to me, I'll say you. English has no respect. But I believe our mother tongue, even the 520 languages we have in Nigeria, we respect people. That is one. Number two, Professor Babs Fafunwa, he did a project some years back when he said, teach children in schools in their mother tongue, in their language, in their indigenous language. And after 6 years, they brought students that were taught in their mother tongue, and they brought students that were taught in English. To their greatest surprise, the students that were taught in their mother tongue, they did far, far better than the students that were taught in English. What I'm trying to say is that English is not the only language spoken all over the world. For example, you go to China. Chinese people, they don't speak English, yet they are making breakthrough in technology all over the world. Thank you. Japanese don't speak English. They are making technological breakthrough. Indians, even when you watch their movies, they speak their language, but they ad-lib and put it in English because they want you to be a part of it. Teaching our children our language, I don't believe it will set us backward. Instead, it will make us move forward because it will teach them better than even the English that we want to be like them.
All right. Well, she said something that bringing up a child in the English way kind of makes that child lack respect. That in English, there's no respect, but in our indigenous languages, there is respect. Now, my question is, does language affect the way we think and act?
I disagree with that. Language is for communication, and language is like a living thing. It grows. They have rules. It's been modified and modernized.
But if you don't speak it, you will lose it.
Excuse me. What I mean is this, that they are being trained or raised in their indigenous language. You are forgetting to know that some parents are from two different ethnic groups. For example, I'm an Igbo lady. I could be married to a Yoruba man. Definitely, English in that home is inevitable.
Yeah.
They have to raise them in English. I will do the job of teaching my children my language. The father will do his job by teaching them his own language. But the means of raising these children will be in English. I want to give you an example. If we don't give them we don't raise them in English language, and they don't know the rules and regulations of English language, they mess up outside the world. Our indigenous language ends in Nigeria. You cannot go outside the world. I'm talking of their career now. You can't go outside the world to compete in Igbo language or in Hausa language or in Yoruba language. It is not acceptable. You can't go for an interview, even in Nigeria, and you'll be interviewed in your indigenous language. Nobody is going to ask you, where are you from? And you say you're an Igbo person, and you say, okay, this interview for this job is going to be based on Igbo language. I've never heard about...
But some people also argue that our indigenous language is rich with, is like a cultural capital, where they are taught values, morals, and a whole lot of things that molds them into being better people in the society.
Yes. Raising children in English language does not stop the norms and culture of we Nigerians. I disagree with that school of thought. If you are respectful, you will be respectful in any language you choose to communicate in. Do you get it? Now, I want to give you an example. There is no child, okay, let me use the word parent. There's no parent that will see the child making blunder in English in a public place that will be happy. I have to bring this to your notice. Yesterday, I watched a video, and this was happening. It was a crime interview, investigation going on, and that was happening at Lagos State Police Command Headquarters, Ikeja. And the video is everywhere. And a young girl of 20 was being interviewed, and her name is Mariam Abiola. And they asked her a question. Who is this with you? And what are you people doing? And the first sentence she will make is, we are member of courtesan. I don't know if you have seen it. And there was no sentence in that interview that was correct in English. All our expressions were wrong. It was obvious, or it is obvious, that that child was raised in an indigenous language, because at a stage she had to switch to speaking her indigenous language, which was not supposed to be used at that context. So I am not saying that the indigenous language should be thrown away, but I am trying to tell you that since English language is our lingua franca, and it is some people's language, some people somewhere else's culture, and we have to do that. We have to do it in their own way. Not raising children in English language is making us make blunder of the language.
All right.
Yes, somebody in English, if somebody in Nigeria could just see you and say, good morning, how was your night? And it is very wrong. If you ask an English person, how was your night? She will tell you, what is your business with my night? Because how was your night is supposed to be for maybe you and your spouse, the way you passed your night. So what is my business asking you, how was your night?
All right, then let me ask you, Fekemi. You know, she talks about mixed marriages.
Yes.
Where, for instance, the husband is Yoruba and his partner, his wife, could be Igbo or Hausa or any language. In that kind of situation, how do you manage it? They have to find a middle ground, and English comes to the rescue.
English comes to the rescue when we have multiracial language. I mean, marriage, like she said. But I still advocate that the children must learn their mother tongue. Why do we call it mother tongue? It is the language the mother speaks to the child. Right from the womb. You talk to your baby, you pray for your baby. I don't know, so many, because we believe we are westernized, we should throw away our language, and when you throw away your language, you throw away your culture too. For example, I'm a Yoruba woman, I'm a Yoruba person. I grew up in an environment where from age 3, I was already in the boarding house. In my school then, we were not allowed to speak Yoruba. We were taught in English, and our teachers were Ghanaians. But when I go home on holiday, I had to go to my grandmother. My grandmother could not speak a word in English. I'll be forced to speak Yoruba when I go home. And in school, I was forced to speak in English when I was in school, in my primary school. But that did not deter me from learning the two languages. Brought up in the hostel, go to my grandparents for holiday. And when you pray, I don't know how it feels. I don't communicate, I don't know how it feels when I want to pray and I pray in English. I pray because Ọlọ́run ò gbọ́ Òyìnbó. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, ogun ayé mi ò gbọ́ English. When I pray, there is a way you can pray in your mother tongue.
Point of correction.
There is a way you can pray in your language that you will know that you are in tune, you are in sync with your maker. Secondly, our pet names. I have a pet name. I gave my children pet names like Aduni, Adio, Amoke, and things like that. Apart from the normal pet names, we still have family names like Aduke Okin, or Molofa, or Mokin. I don't know. Anytime my own mother calls me, she calls me by my pet name. She doesn't call me Feikemi. She calls me Aduke. My mother, she's from Okin, she's from Ofa. My mother will say, Aduke Okin Omolofa. My father will say, Aduke Esho Koyo Magmoy. When your father or your mother, when they call you, and they give you that your family oriki, I don't know how it feels, but to me, hardly is there anything that that my parents will ask from me at that particular point in time that I will not give to them. Same thing with my husband. I married an Ijima. My husband is a twin, he's Taye. Last Sunday was his birthday. When I called him, Taye Lolu Ejire Ara Asokun, Edujobi Agbori Birete. The next thing is he asked us, Kí ló fẹ́? I said, mo kàn fẹ́ kí ẹ ni, happy birthday to you. Last year when I did the same thing, he bought me a car. Whoa. So I still go back to that word. Please let us teach our children.
Maybe the point she's making is English is not expressive enough.
It's not. To me, it's not. There's no way I can express myself.
It is because
except I go to.
You don't understand the language in total. That is why.
No. When you mention multiracial marriage, when you mention multiracial language, when I was in secondary school, I learned a little bit of Igbo language. I speak the little I know to my neighbors. I will ask them, what's the meaning of this? And they will tell me. And I tend to, now I teach my children the same thing. And I tell them, have Igbo friends, have Hausa friends, so that you can learn their language. Perchance, you'll be opportune to go there. You can speak their language to them, and they'll be happy you are speaking their language to them. English is no respecter of anybody.
All right, let's let her respond. Franca?
Yes, my colleague mentioned something about God. God does not understand only Yoruba language.
I'm not saying God understands. I said
you choose to speak in Yoruba language while praying because you are fluent in it and wish to talk to God in that language. All languages in the world, God understands.
God understands all languages.
The history of language started from the Tower of Babel.
I know.
And in that place, God was seeing that humans were trying to be smarter than him, and he confused them by changing the language.
Just like we are trying
and there
to
is
be
no
smarter
language he
now
does
by
not
saying
understand.
we want to speak
if you
only
want to
one
speak in
language.
English, you see them in churches when they cast out devil with English language, and the devil obeys and go out. So must I go back to my indigenous language? Must I go back to my indigenous language because I want to cast out a devil? No. So what I'm talking about is this. Our indigenous language remains, but we have a lingua franca, and we should respect that, because you can't go into the university today if you don't have a credit in English. And there is no university that will take you without English because you made an A in your indigenous
Even
language.
if you want to study Yoruba, I think you still need a credit in English.
Language, you still have to make an A in English.
All right, then. Thank you very much. A round of applause for our debaters. Well, we'll take a quick break at this point. Don't go away. The debate continues after this break. You're still watching The Big Issue. Welcome back to the program. And of course, our question is, raising children in English language more beneficial? And our debaters, of course, have been doing justice to this debate. And it's time for the Fire for Fire segment, where the debaters go neck on neck. And in this segment, you're free to ask yourselves questions, interject at any point. And of course, we still ask for decorum. The ball is in your court. Fire for Fire. Fire.
Yes, I still want to continue from where I stopped.
Feel free.
I want to tell her, she said the last time she used Oriki. Oriki means praising in Yoruba language.
Yes.
We still praise in English language. Your husband wished to give you that gift at that time. That was why he gave you. Not because you used the Oriki. Because you can still wish to praise your husband in English language.
Some people are asking, how do they... Okay.
My darling, how are you? You are all wonderful. You are wonderful. You are wonderful. You are a darling. I have never seen a man like you. You are so wonderful. You are caring. You are everything I could look for in a man. I have seen the whole thing I'm looking for in you. There is no one like you. And at a stage, he's going to give you what you want. That is that. But I have another example.
Okay.
There is someone I know, and I know you know her too, because she's a popular writer, and her name is Chimamanda Adichie. Chimamanda Adichie was raised in English because her father was a professor and her mother an administrator. I have a video of her that I downloaded from YouTube where she was talking about the danger of single story. And in the audience, just like my audience are seated, half of the audience were whites, the English. And Chimamanda was talking in English. And at the end of it all, they applauded her and they asked her, where did you learn this language that you can speak this language so beautifully? And she said, I learned English from my parents. I started from age 4 to read, and I started writing from age 7. And that is why I am very good. And in that program, she also spoke her language, Igbo language, which means the parent did not still forget to teach her her language. And what was the example she cited? She said, there is a noun in Igbo language, and that noun is called Nkali. And Nkali means greatness. That when you are writing, you don't write just one side of story about people. You have to write both sides of the story. Tell us the bad aspects of those people and tell us the good aspects of those people. That the first time she traveled out of this country, where she went, she had a single story about Mexicans, that they are all having immigration problem, moving from one country to the other. But when she went from America to Mexico and she saw the way they were behaving, she went to their market, she talked to them, she related with them, she found out that they are very, very good and wealthy people. So what I'm trying to say in essence is this, that bringing up or raising our children in English language doesn't throw away our indigenous language, but it makes them better in that language. Her roommate in the university was asking her, where are you from? And she said, I am from Nigeria. And you speak English so well? She said, yes, because I was raised in English language. English is the lingua franca in my country. And the lady was surprised.
Thank you very much. But there is no way you can speak English as good as an Englishman. For example, Professor Wole Soyinka is a writer just like Chimamanda Adichie. And also we have Chinua Achebe, he's also a writer. But looking at their stories, looking at their books, they write about their culture and they infuse some of their language.
In which language are they writing, please?
They write in English, but they infuse, I still use that word, they infuse some of their language, even in the English book that they wrote.
Your indigenous languages are not complete like English.
Wait. I'm still advocating.
It is a fact.
I'm still advocating
it is a fact.
That leave English teaching, leave English learning to schools to do that.
Schools
teach your children your culture through your language.
How many hours do we stay in school?
They stay more than 8 hours in school.
And how many hours do we stay at home?
As a mother, we owe it as a duty to our future generation and to our children.
That consistency is very good.
You cannot speak English. You cannot speak good English if you cannot speak your own language very well. That's one thing I believe. Professor Wole Soyinka was able to mesmerize all these English people because they could speak Yoruba very well. And even English people, they still come to Professor Wole Soyinka to learn English from a Yoruba man.
I thought you said no. Body can speak English like an Englishman. So why are they coming out to learn English from an African man? Because he's good.
No, Professor Wole Soyinka
because he learned English and he's good in it.
He came up with some African English language. That even the English people, they still ask him, what is the meaning of this word? And he came up with the word. He formulated the word by himself. Then one thing I want us to know is that we are not doing our children any good if we not teach them their language. We look at children, African children born in England, born in America. I see them as lost generation. Why? They can't speak their language. They bear Yoruba name, they bear Igbo name, they bear Hausa name. But if you ask them, what is the meaning of your name? They will tell you they don't know.
It does not mean that because they are being raised in English, that is why they refuse to understand their language.
Are the parents speaking their language to them?
Let me come in here. Let me come in here.
Right.
Also, another challenge could be, like she said, language is a means of communication. Yes. If you look at, let's say, both
parents are not from the same ethnic group.
If we look at our society today, we have an issue with rural-urban migration. Yes. When you get to these urban centers like a cosmopolitan area like Lagos, where, of course, we know some people speak Yoruba in Lagos, but it depends on the area you live. You could live in an area with people from different ethnic groups, the Igbos, the Hausas, and when your children go out to play,
not speak English
even
but train them in their mother tongue from home.
If you don't expose them to English as early
when they go out to play, they also need to communicate with their peers.
They can communicate in English in school. They are losing it. If we don't teach them now, we are losing it. In the next 20 years, most of our children will not be able to speak our own language.
Madam, you don't get it. There is a limit to what our indigenous language can do.
What if my mom is an illiterate?
That is what I'm telling you. There is a limit to it.
Today I can go anywhere and communicate because I was taught. I just said it. My grandmother could not speak a word in English. I learned English from school. And today I can communicate with anybody, anywhere in the world, with my own language, with my own mother tongue. I am everywhere.
I want to give you another example. You all watch the comedy on TV, Jennifer's Diary. Jennifer was raised in her village with her mother's tongue. Basically, her mother's tongue.
Yeah.
And she went to Lagos, and you can see the problem we are facing with Jennifer. Yes, because she will not, comedy. It is a comedy, but they are trying to pass a message to us. And the message is, expose these children to English language, as only the indigenous language could affect them, and they will not be able to communicate. Are you telling me that in the whole of this world, you have only Nigerians? Oh, so because you understand your indigenous language, you can't communicate with Ghanaians when you see them? You can't communicate with the whites. You can't communicate with people from other places.
Madam,
if you don't expose them to English very early, they will not know the rules.
Why are you sending them to nursery school?
Because
why are you paying
because
such
it is
high
not only the
fees?
language they are learning in school. They learn mathematics in school.
Yes.
They learn chemistry in school.
But do you know that when your children,
so it is not because of the language I send my children
home
to school.
assignments and they don't understand this, there are times you still go back to the indigenous language to make them understand. For example,
not really making them use it. Dropping the English.
I'm not saying they should drop English totally.
We are talking about raising children at home.
So you are saying it should also be the responsibility of the parents to teach their children English
language. Yes,
speaking English language.
That is what the topic is talking about. Is raising children in English more beneficial?
And she's saying that it's not the job of the parents. That the teacher should do that job.
Because
the
it has a lot
to do their job.
It has a lot to do on their career.
Not totally.
It has a lot to do on their career.
Not that they should drop their mother tongue. They shouldn't drop their mother tongue.
If you see a child speaking very good English, you give example of children abroad who are Nigerians that they are lost generation. Yes, this same lost generation comes home and you lost your eyes on them when they are talking because they are speaking the English the way the English people should speak it. They come home and you respect them. You hear their voice, you want to listen to what they are saying. Hello, is my bottle down there? Can I talk to someone? It doesn't stop you from teaching them your indigenous language, but they should be very good in English language, just for expression, just for communication, just for you to raise the name of your country as a country that uses English language as a lingua franca.
But can you speak English as good as the Englishman?
I am a linguist. I speak French very well. Je parle langue française. I speak Igbo, and my sweet Igbo, Abumoyi Igbo. I speak Yoruba, Mugbo Yoruba, Iyami Gomo Yobani. I speak Hausa, Nnaji Hausa Kadankada. I speak Delta language because I'm indigenously from Delta State. I speak about 5. In Delta State, they even speak Pidgin as their lingua franca. Have you heard about that? Because there is nothing you can do without English. From one pole to another, one bus stop to another, the language changes. And I think it's from Delta State that made the language of Nigeria to be up to 520 and above. And in that context, who will be able?
You can speak at least 5
more
Nigerian. You said at least 5. Who taught you?
That is the point.
That's why I'm saying that you should learn your language.
Listen, let me tell you how I learned them.
You can communicate.
Let me tell you how I learned them. And let me tell you the ones I am very, very professional and efficient in. The ones I learned at home are those languages I'm very, very efficient in. My father used to be a military man, an educationist who read English history. Okay? My father will want to talk to you and he will speak English to you. And if you respond and your response is not correct, he will tell you not to make that sentence outside this home. Because what you are saying is wrong. Do you understand? So you begin to learn and then make changes. That doesn't mean that he will not allow you to speak your indigenous language.
But you know that we are fast losing our language.
If we raise our children just only in the indigenous language, you have more havoc. Because what is there is this. You have two sides to a coin. And anything you want to do, it has advantages and disadvantages. Then you rate it. The advantages of this thing I'm trying to embark on and the disadvantages, which is more. Then you go for the one you have more advantages. I'm trying to let you know that raising our children in English language is more advantageous. One, because they will go to the university with English language. That is what they will learn. And let me tell you another thing. When you are a student, you don't learn anything in the university. Your learning starts from the primary and the nursery section. And whatever you gather from that place sticks. And what I mean is this. In a school where they use phonics to teach them, they speak better English than the school where they just teach them English.
But do you know that it is not only English that they are teaching?
If it is not complemented, they tend to forget. They tend to make mistakes. Have you not faced the problem of your child coming home to ask you, my teacher said, you are saying this is fish, but my teacher said it's fish. Which one is more correct?
It is better to raise your children in your modern tongue, the language that you speak. This will make them understand other languages better. You see, you want to teach English and you are teaching English with English. You don't pass message. The best thing for you is to use your language which has been properly understood by your child and or which your child is used to and it is being spoken in your environment. So if you use that, you will also be comfortable to let him see a lot of things that are, that can be available in its environment, that this is what this is called here. You see, we call it mixed languages. We call it dual language. So if you have opportunity of dual language, you pass message more than teaching the language you want somebody to learn with that language.
If it is in English, you are relevant across everywhere in the world. Yeah, you are able to communicate.
I think it's the best thing for us to raise our children with our indigenous language, because it makes them to understand our culture and everything about us.
English language, even if you teach them the English language or you don't teach them, they will definitely learn that in school. Right from the primary school, the secondary school, get to their institution. So I prefer the indigenous language.
Giving them a local language makes them local, and I wish them the very best of luck. Even we have not been, I would like them to be there.
So it's good for them, for the children, to be balanced, to know the roots where they come from.
If it is in English, you are relevant across everywhere in the world. Yeah, you are able to communicate. You wouldn't need any third party. That is if you're not multilingual anyway. I think that's it.
It's been an amazing show today, and we've been able to provoke an interesting debate here in the house. And Feyikemi here believes that children should be raised in their indigenous language, while Franca believes children should learn English first before their indigenous language. Well, that's the show. I hope you enjoyed it, because we did as well. Thank you very much for watching. You can follow us on Twitter at TVC Connect and also at TVC News NG. Enjoy the rest of your day.